Hi Bio30. Our second lesson on 13.2 will focus on human growth hormone. There are these 6 hormones coming from the anterior pituitary now. They are all made right in there, and we're going to list them off in your notes. There's thyroid stimulating hormone, which we'll talk about later in this topic. There's adrenocorticotropic hormone for the stress response, prolactin for milk production, FSH and LH for reproductive functions, FSH for stimulating egg and sperm production, LH for sex hormone production, and human growth hormone, hGH, which is stimulating growth of muscles and bones. One thing that we notice when especially growth spurts happen in kids is that not only do bones grow, muscles grow, but fat gets metabolized more as the energy is going towards that cell growth. And they seem to use the help of little growth factors. So I will have that incorporated in our feedback loop as we draw that one coming up. The disorders, probably very commonly known about high growth hormone production causing gigantism, which can be hard on organs. So sometimes other medical issues are associated with gigantism as well. So all those bones and cells are growing at a very rapid rate. And there's a few videos you can check out. Andre the Giant, not with us anymore. A lot of times that can be difficult, like we said, on the body with there being such a taller stature. Dwarfism, opposite thing would be underproduction of human growth hormone. You can imagine with an underproduction how if that was monitored, human growth hormone could be administered. But if there is too high of a production, it would be having to be treated with something that will bind to it and not allow it to be released and attached to cells. A couple examples of dwarfism here, and this out of your textbook on 446 about treatment for dwarfism is just looking at how they used to inject people with hGH from cadavers, from the pituitary gland from deceased people. And of course, diseases could be transmitted that way, or infections. And of course, always hard to supply everyone with hormones from this source. So since 1985, genetic engineering has been used to synthesize many different hormones. So basically the gene for that hormone from humans is put into a bacteria, and that bacteria reproduce rapidly and make large amounts of those hormones. So this is how we supply the demand for hormones till now. Okay, we have this guy who had dwarfism and then later gigantism. It's an interesting story. You can check that out. These two tallest and shortest living men years ago, Guinness had them meet and make some videos. You can check those out. The third disorder for human growth hormone is acromegaly, and this is where there was no issue till adulthood, so the body was already fully grown, and excessive hGH starts happening often because of some pituitary tumor, and it affects these places specifically: face and hands, feet, tongue, and internal organs where there's soft cartilage start growing and disfiguring the patient. You can see that some of the other effects are that will cause headaches and things like visual problems, fatigue, and reproductive issues. You can add that list to your notes from that diagram. Okay, some couple examples. of acromegaly causing the disfiguration. They just mentioned that once they monitor and correct the hGH levels, once those changes happen to the face, they're not necessarily easy to return. So it says the cartilage enlargement, it just is not reversible. Sometimes pituitary effects are reversible. And these are great videos to watch the links of, so you should do that. I threw in this thing about hGH because sometimes in the extreme fitness world, they look for things that will cause growth of muscles and self-administer things like this to grow muscles and decrease fat, but it's a risky thing to do that. So the mention here is that with good diet, good exercise, and good sleep, your own natural perfect amount of hGH is made. However, people who are not getting good quality sleep or enough sleep may actually not be getting enough hGH. So it says 8 hours of sleep if you want your normal, natural human growth hormone production. And human growth hormones are helping to repair tissues as well as healing cells, making enzymes and other proteins. So there's a lot of jobs that are vital to you getting enough sleep, and it naturally will decrease with old age though. So in terms of using it for the elderly, there is some potential to look at that possibly being a positive. And we've watched some videos in class about older people feeling like using hGH when theirs was diminishing was a positive thing. But if you're using it when your body has is still young, but you're trying to use it for those other reasons, there can be some dangers in that. And I gave you all an article to check out in your notes, so please do that. And it's one that goes through what dangers there are in young people having hGH given to them in order to maybe try to get taller, for example, and how that can be very hard on their organs. So that's in page 17, Growth in Youth in a Bottle, that article. Well worth your time to read through that. Another point, some people say coffee will stunt your growth. So I just put a little clip on this that we check that out. And basically a few cups of coffee is not going to cause any issues. However, more than that can be sort of giving someone higher heartbeats and insomnia if it's too close to bedtime, and even depression, anxiety if they're consuming it in large amounts. And this is also saying that with chronic use, it can decrease pituitary reserve of growth hormone. So chronic use in high amounts actually is not great for kids. Okay, so we are going to copy our third feedback loop, the human growth hormone feedback loop. This is our first one for the anterior pituitary. So as you can see here, the hypothalamus is now needing to stimulate the anterior pituitary. That's different than their other two. The hypothalamus will make an RH, a releasing hormone, and that will cause the pituitary to release the right hormone, in this case, human growth hormone, and it will stimulate the liver to make that growth factor, and the growth factor will get to work at metabolizing fat and causing that muscle and bone and cartilage growth. When the job is done, you can see we've got a negative feedback arrow going to both parts of the brain. Make sure you put your negative sign in there. Disorders that we mentioned, gigantism, dwarfism, and high hGH in adulthood is acromegaly. So copy that and add that to your collection. You guys can pause these videos and watch these, or copy these now, or access the PowerPoint for these. Just to wrap up before we finish this video, this is not a disorder you have to know about, but if there is a severe undersecretion of hormones from the anterior pituitary, that would cause a whole lot of side effects in a patient. And so just generalized weakness, and there is genital atrophy, which is not development, non-development, and if you can imagine all the jobs of the pituitary not working, that would be the effect that we see. Okay, we will be back for video 3 for 13.2. Bye for now.